Max, can you pretend like you're Morgan Freeman coming to kill me?
Please,
Please,
please.
please do that.
I can smell you. I'm creeping around right now. You just can't see me as I've evolved invisibility. Although I might have a measly shiv, it is quite effective when applied to the jugular.
All right, welcome to the Perfect Movie Podcast, the show where we answer the question, is this a perfect movie? I'm Michael.
Kalen.
And for today's episode, we watched the 1994 highly regarded film, Shawshank Redemption. And I guess to kick it off, we can just say, if we've seen this before, our last viewing, and maybe our early thoughts. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I watched this for the first time maybe about 3 years ago. I thought it was a very well-made film. I appreciated the artistry, appreciated the performances. It's an overall great movie. Everybody loves Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
The narrating guy. Let me tell you a story.
Was that your Morgan Freeman?
Yes. That wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad, was it?
No, that was terrible. I mean, we can hear it back. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe right in the moment. But oh my god, that was fucking terrible.
I didn't think it was too bad. I was working on that all day.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to shit on your dreams. I just was confused for a minute.
Well, fuck you, man. Anyways, I love this movie. It was fun to come back and watch it again with more matured eyes and kind of see some stuff that I didn't realize the first time. And yeah.
I think a lot of the stuff that I say about this movie today is going to be based on the fact that I watched this, I think, in a very strange way. I might have ruined this movie for myself because I definitely watched part of it on cable at some point, and the only parts that I remembered was the very beginning and the very end.
Oh, so the continuity was way off from the get-go.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to spoil it right away. I think we can do more spoilers a little later, but there's a big reveal at the end of the movie about something that's been going on that nobody noticed, and that I already knew about. So I was waiting the whole time, like, when is this thing gonna start? When is this part of the plot gonna happen?
Right.
And so maybe that all didn't hit me the way it probably should have, because I kind of spoiled it for myself accidentally watching it on cable.
That's
several years
Thank
ago.
God. Do they still do like movies on TV? I'm sure they do. I don't watch cable. So
yeah, they do. And actually, one of the fun facts about this movie that I found out was what is his name? Ted Turner, the owner of TNT, and I think of many other entertainment properties. Basically, he also owned the company that produced this. So the movie wasn't a huge success box office wise when it first came
it
out.
wasn't. And you know why? Because it released alongside Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump.
Yeah, for
talk about your summer lineup though.
For the Oscars that year, it was up against some heavyweights, and it didn't win any Oscars either. But what I was gonna say is Ted Turner sold the rights basically to himself to show it on TNT, and so basically he could show it as often as he wants and as much as he wants for a very cheap value. So part of the reason that it's such a like a big sensation wasn't people seeing it in the theaters. In fact, most people never saw it in the theaters.
People watching it on TV.
They saw it on TV on cable because it was showing over and over again on TNT, and also, you know, like home video.
Interesting. And then it kind of became cult classic. I mean, I don't think it's really considered a cult classic because usually cult classics are like movies that weren't reviewed well.
Yeah, and this
that were
reviewed
kind of
well.
like
I also saw the Roger Ebert review of this, actually.
Oh, was he?
No, they liked it. Both
They liked it, okay.
Siskel and Ebert both said that it was a great movie.
Well, I think we should point out too that this is also a novel of the same name by Stephen King.
The novel's called, I think, Rita Wilson
and
the Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. Haven't read it.
Novella.
I don't read-
It's a
I don't
short
read
story.
books.
But you can kind of tell that by the format, because
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman is narrating it a lot.
Right.
And that's a very that's
It feels like sitting down and reading a good book.
it does to some extent. Morgan Freeman blames the bad box office on it. It made 18 million, which didn't even cover the cost of its production. It made another 10 after the Oscars because it had like an Oscar re-release.
Oh.
And I think it was about a $25 million budget. And Morgan Freeman thought that the film's difficult name was a major problem.
The Shawshank Redemption is too much for people to say.
People couldn't figure it out. Like, it is hard to read. I don't even know if it's hard to read. Honestly, I think Morgan Freeman's just being a little salty in that situation.
I'll get into some other reasons why. I mean, we could probably save this towards the end, but get into some other reasons why I don't think this was taken very well by the general audience.
But going back to my opinion on this, I guess, and this is where people I think are going to be mad at me, because I looked it up and, that's what I was going to say. It's the #1 rated movie on IMDb by user reviews. If you look at their top 250,
yeah, I read about that.
It is #1. So people love it. They all regard it very highly. And I'd say, and maybe this is partially because I spoiled it for myself accidentally in the past, I thought it was pretty good. I didn't step away thinking excellent or amazing. Like, if I was going to be 1 to 10 scale.
I think that definitely has to do with your viewer.
Maybe.
Your first time viewing,
Maybe that's it. But I'm not going to spend this time shitting on it, but I just think, like you said, it went up against Pulp Fiction and it went up against Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
And I would say I like both those movies a good amount more than I like this movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's also just my personal sensibilities, because this is
it's a very well-made.
It's a well-made movie, but it's got
film.
this, and this is a very 90s thing, and Forrest Gump kind of has this thing going too, because they're both decade-spanning character studies of movies. They have this very hallmarky quality, even though there's some very dark things that happen in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think the general feel,
It's like a feel-good kind of, but it's not.
it's
feel-good.
very sad. It's a bro cry.
I mean, definitely as opposed to like Forrest Gump, where Forrest Gump is
Very
essentially a comedy.
Yeah.
This goes for a more somber tone, but it still has that like lightheartedness kind of like.
There's this. It's the 90s score in music.
Yeah, that's what it is the music.
And just the direction of, like, one thing I noticed compared to, like, if this movie was made in 2020, although it's based on the short story, so there's only so much they were going to differ. But I think if you're making a similar story today, Andy Dufresne might not be quite as squeaky clean of a character. Like everybody else, it's not really like Red says at the beginning, we're all innocent in here, and it's like, clearly they're not. Not everybody there is.
And I think that's what part of the film is about too, because it's like, well, they are being institutionalized, and there's all this like shady stuff that the guards are doing and that the warden is doing. But then it's like, well, do they really deserve it? I mean, some of these guys are in here for murder, others are rapists. I mean, it's very like, you almost forget about the troubles of the actual characters.
You forget about what got them there.
Yeah. And I think that's what the film was trying to do.
Yeah. And what I was saying is, but Andy is the opposite. They make a very good point, unless you think that middle portion with Tommy wasn't truthful, but they make a very point to say Andy's innocent.
Yeah.
Andy, got shafted, and he's actually a squeaky clean guy.
Because he's your main character, and you don't want to hate him for the things that he did.
But in the world post, like, Breaking Bad and all the stuff that, I think if this was made in 2020, and I think part of me was kind of looking for that or waiting for that,
right,
where he wasn't just this, very perfect character in a lot of ways. Like, he doesn't really have a lot of flaws. He's just a guy that got screwed.
Well, yeah, now we're in the era of, like, being the bad guy is cool, or being the conflicted bad guy, but he's still a good person at heart kind of thing, like Breaking Bad, or...
Yeah.
any number of different.
It didn't need to be that thing. It's just something I noticed was different, and I was kind of, because I forgot the middle of the movie, whether I didn't watch it or whatever. That was the part that I was wondering.
Yeah.
If he's gonna make a bit of a heel turn.
I think what you're saying about the Hallmark quality to it, and I think that's part of the charm of these like 90s films, and like the reason why people feel so much nostalgia towards them and tend to gravitate and like, oh, I'm gonna watch a 90s film. They have a quality about them that it's like, it's not miserable,
right?
And
it's escapism, even though there's some very dark stuff that happens in this movie, but you walk away with a feel good moment at the end,
and you don't feel like complete shit after watching it.
No, these guys might have lost 30 years of their lives for shit that but you walk away on a light note.
That's why it's called Shawshank Redemption. These motherfuckers is redempted.
Oh, I see. One note I read that Frank Darabont was watching Goodfellas every week while he was filming this, which if you think about it, the one thing that I think this movie does, and this is another, so they recorded Morgan Freeman. This was the first time Morgan Freeman did voiceover. So they invented, basically, everybody thinks of Morgan Freeman as voiceover guy.
Yeah.
They invented Morgan Freeman voiceover guy in this movie. This is his first time doing voiceover work. And they recorded it before the film. So during those sequences where he's voiceover, usually it's one of those like, and it's a very Scorsese thing, those like action scenes where there's a lot of moving parts and there's all these actors doing specific things to the voiceover. They were actually playing that on set and timing it to the voiceover.
That's actually really like a really smart thing to do for the actors as well. Like,
it sounded like Samuel L. Jackson.
Are you just thinking the next black person you could think about, Michael?
I got caught. Morgan Freeman didn't. There's a couple things I read where Morgan Freeman, he had a problem with Frank Darabont taking too many takes, and I imagine doing that.
Yeah, there's some times where he outright would not do another take because he was like, "Fuck that, dude. We've been out here all day and we're just."
Yeah, so that can get frustrating, but that is the quality that I think this takes from Goodfellas, and also being another decade-spanning story about kind of bad guys.
Yeah.
But it is specifically those big Scorsese like scenes where there's lots of moving parts, there's lots of extras.
It's all like usually like one long shot.
The camera's like moving along between characters
all these
and
different
sweeping
characters,
with you.
extras doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
That's brilliant filmmaking.
Yeah, it is one of my favorite Scorsese qualities, and he does it in here. For the part of Andy Dufresne, there was a lot of your typical 90s stars were up for it. So it was Jeff Bridges, Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks had to go do Forrest Gump, so he couldn't do this.
It's funny because when I was watching this the other day, I was like, Tom Hanks would probably be okay in this role, and like just because I was like, this feels kind of like Forrest Gump, going back to that that Hallmark quality. That's funny.
Kevin Costner, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise would have ruined this movie. I think Tom Cruise as Andy Dufresne would have been fucking bad.
No, because Tom Cruise was the action guy.
Yeah, Tom Cruise always plays Tom Cruise, and you can't unsee Tom Cruise.
Maybe Jeff Bridges might have been okay.
Jeff Bridges,
he's a great actor, but he's too like rough and gruff for that role. I think.
Yeah,
he always plays like.
I mean, he's like the dude around this time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, what is that movie called?
Oh my god, now I can't.
Fuck it, we're cutting that part.
Coen Brothers movie. Nicolas Cage, Johnny Depp, Charlie Sheen. Could have got some Tiger Blood energy in there.
Oh my god, Nicolas Cage. I would actually watch that though.
It also would be same like Tom Cruise would be a very different movie with Nicolas Cage.
Absolutely,
because Andy Dufresne as Tim Robbins as Andy Dufresne. I mean to say, he's very like stoic and understated.
Yeah, and then if you had Nicolas Cage in there, his face always contorts and he's just super weird looking, and he's like
it would
really
be very
expressive.
different.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Same for Johnny Depp probably.
Johnny Depp was like what, 16?
No.
He was old as hell. Or he was young as hell back then.
I mean, Tim Robbins isn't that old. This is like 95. I think this is
okay. Then I'm thinking
you're thinking no. He'd been in stuff for a while.
Okay.
He was, I think, in his mid to late 20s at least. And Costner bowed out because he was filming Waterworld.
And because he was touching little boys.
Kevin Costner, a boy toucher?
Or am I thinking about
No, you're thinking of
Kevin Spacey?
Kevin Spacey. Wrong.
Hey, they're
Kevin.
both named Kevin.
Clear,
Sorry,
clear Kevin Costner's name. No.
this is not official.
And then for Red, Clint Eastwood, Harrison Ford, Gene Hackman, Robert Redford. They were all up for it, but I guess Darabont always wanted Morgan Freeman. And in the book, he's an Irishman, which answers the question, and maybe I shouldn't be the one asking it, but how is Morgan Freeman the only man of color in a prison?
That was weird because I was thinking like in that time period it would probably be segregated.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I mean, this I think goes from like the 40s
this
to the...
is I guess so. They filmed this in Ohio. It's the Ohio. Hold on, I got it in my notes. Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. But the Shawshank prison from the film is supposed to be set in Maine. So I guess, I mean, maybe they're cool with black folks mingling.
Maybe Maine was ahead of the curve. No, that's because all of...
I mean, that's pretty close to New York.
All of Stephen King stuff is in like Maine. It's almost all the stuff, all the stories in the little towns are based in Maine.
It's in Maine. Yeah.
It's a Stephen King thing.
Is he from there?
I don't know.
What's in Maine?
Fucking cod fishing.
Oh, so I guess I'm going to Maine now.
We talked about Jon Favreau, our old boy, Jon Favreau, director, star of the movie Chef. I think that's what it was called.
Wait,
where he opens, director of Iron Man.
This is
showrunner.
This is a real thing.
Yeah. So wait, he auditioned for the role of Fat Ass.
That's the actual title of the character.
Yeah, the guy that gets beat to shit at the very beginning of the movie to kind of have your first act like, oh shit, he's in deep. And
that would have been hilarious.
He told Empire Magazine that was his worst audition he ever did and encouraged him to try and lose weight.
Imagine like your assistant or your manager or whatever comes up to you, yeah, we got you an audition for this great movie. It's called Shawshank Redemption. You're gonna be playing a character called Fat Ass.
You gotta be like, man, I want my break, but not this way. Fuck. Fat ass?
In the 90s, they thought fat people were funny. So
that's true. That's true. And this is my last fun fact. At 6'5", Tim Robbins holds the title for the tallest Oscar winner. He did not win an Oscar for this movie. He earned it later as a supporting actor in Mystic River. Never seen it, but he's 6'5". He's a tall motherfucker.
He is a tall guy. He's like towering over everybody in the movie.
He's kind of got what's the tall dude in the Addams Family called?
The Frankenstein guy?
Yes. He's got that energy.
I just called him Frankenstein.
All right. Well, I guess we talked a bit about what our thoughts on the movie are. You said you've seen it before completely.
Yeah, I've seen it a few times.
You say you liked it?
Yeah.
For the most part?
For the most part, yes.
Yeah.
I thought it was very well made.
So where I came down, I guess, was this is pretty good. And I think because I'm such a knee-jerk contrarian accidentally, I don't really want to be that way. And I don't do it on purpose. Like I genuinely, for the most part, even though if you listen to this, it'll probably come up more. I guess I got hipster mentality or something. I don't like the most popular thing, but I didn't know this was the number one most liked movie.
I always thought this was kind of just like a low key thing
on IMDb, but where I come down on this is I liked it. I liked it good. I didn't like it great or amazing.
Fair enough.
But I enjoyed it.
Fair enough.
It was the performance of a lifetime.
All right, so what do we think about who are our favorite performances, actors, characters, or moments? You know what was really... Do you have one in mind? Otherwise, I'll go.
I'd say, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Off the bat, he's probably the best character in this movie.
And he's actually he was nominated for as the lead actor, which I guess in my head I think of Andy Dufresne as the lead, but he's the lead of this movie.
If you consider the ending, he's basically the protagonist.
He is.
Yeah. Some other performances. Andy Dufresne, the guy who plays Andy.
Tim Robbins.
Is it Roberts or Robbins?
Robbins.
Yeah, he's great. Again, he's very somber. The warden character, I really like the warden. He's a very pompous, arrogant, religious man, holier than thou kind of guy.
Yeah, holier than thou, but the lowest.
Yeah.
Just a total snake.
Yeah,
just
he's gross.
Just a real, like, you want to talk about, we need to go back to when movies had good guys that were good guys and bad guys that were bad guys.
Right.
That's like this movie.
Right.
Like Tim Robbins, Andy Dufresne, he's like the nicest guy ever, selfless, you know, he was done wrong. And then you got like just the worst people ever between the warden and the guard, Captain Hadley. They are just
the Captain
shits.
Hadley guy. Okay. Well, are we talking about scenes or can we...
Whatever you want to say.
Okay, so the scene where the rooftop scene, probably my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Where the guard, officer...
Captain Hadley?
Captain Hadley. He's like talking about his financial problems. He's supposed to get an inheritance and whatever. He's just like, man, Uncle Sam is really kicking my ass, and man, fuck the IRS. And he's just all this.
And
all
he's
this
bitching
stuff.
about getting an $8,000 inheritance.
No, he's getting $30,000.
That's
something crazy, and that's a bigger. That was
in
a fairly,
1930 numbers or
that's
whatever.
some good money back then,
Right.
And so he's bitching about that, and then Andy comes up to him. And he's like, do you love your wife? And he's like, what the fuck, motherfucker? Like, you're going on a trip. Like, he's about to throw him off the roof. And
Do you
he's just
trust
like,
your wife? That's
yeah.
what he
Oh,
asks.
do you trust your? Yeah, do you trust your wife? And so he's about to throw him off the roof, and then Andy's like, "Nah, man, I can help you. I can do your taxes and all this stuff and help you out." And then
And that's kind of the catalyst for like the whole middle of the movie.
yes, it's all about Andy in his efforts to feel normal again, feel some type of humanity again. He does all these things for his fellow inmates, and it's all selfless,
Yeah.
which is great. And so in that scene, he's like, "I'll help you, but I want some beers for
I
my
want some
coworkers,
suds for my
some
boys.
some suds for my fellow coworkers."
Yeah.
And so he gets a beer, and then the music swells in that scene, and Morgan Freeman's narrating over it. They're all drinking beer, and there's a sunset. That's a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that scene so much.
Captain Sadler, he's played by Clancy Brown, who's a very big voice actor.
Okay.
And you've seen him. He's in a TV show. It's on Nickelodeon. I want you to try to guess his character.
Okay.
This character loves money.
Oh, Mr. Krabs. SpongeBob.
Yeah, he's like Mr. Krabs.
No way.
He's Mr. Krabs and, a bunch of random characters on SpongeBob. He's Lex Luthor in like the early 2000s animated
awesome.
Justice Leagues.
That's awesome.
At the start of Thor Ragnarok, the demon that has him that has Thor by the chain.
By the chains, yeah.
Clancy Brown.
Oh, dang.
He's got like 300 voice credits and all kinds of animated, and he's in video games.
Dang,
and
he's
stuff
pretty
too.
legit, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. This is probably one of his bigger like live action roles.
Yeah.
But he went on to be a really
Oh, can
really
we also
accomplished voice actor.
do a quick shout out to my boy Dale from The Walking Dead?
Yeah, Jeffrey DeMunn. He's right at the beginning. He's the prosecution
the
lawyer.
prosecution lawyer.
Yeah, that puts Andy away.
He's looking really young.
Yeah.
Not the Dale I remember.
That just mostly looks confused and just always has his mouth open.
He's like, guys, but we need humanity. We can't be turning into the bad shit.
like the zombies. Dale from The Walking Dead. I don't know if we mentioned where he's from. He's Dale from The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, Dale from. I think I mentioned that.
Which is another.
He's the guy with the hat in the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And he's like the voice of reason.
He's a Frank Darabont. He's a friend. He keeps getting them paid. He's in probably all of his
Yeah, he's in Green
big
Mile
projects.
and
He's in.
he's in the Mist too.
Yeah.
There's a few actors like that.
Yeah, he'll meet a few and he keeps them around. I guess get your friends work if you're in the business.
That's also a Scorsese thing.
Yeah, bringing back the same guys.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I guess my favorite scene was the one involving Brooksy. I think that was my highlight of the movie, honestly, is the scene where Brooksy, he leaves prison, and then he basically, I mean,
Tries
that's
to integrate himself back into normal society.
and there's Red gives this whole speech about being institutionalized, which is probably the most poignant. It is the point of the movie. How prison can rip you from your humanity and
Yep.
And you end up institutionalized.
What's the line that he was saying? He was like, first when you first get in here, you start to resent the wall, or you resent the walls, and
eventually they become your home or something.
Eventually,
like that.
you start to tolerate it, and then you love it.
Yeah, yeah, and that really is true for Brooksy, and you can imagine that as a guy that probably came in as a 30-year-old, and now he's in his 80s or whatever. He's a very old man, and this doesn't need to be the podcast about my prison reform platform, but like. It is very inhumane, and there's the reason there is so much recidivism. That's a $5 word. In the real world, is because when you rip someone out of their life for decades on decades, how can you? And then they got a felony, they can't get a good job.
How can you functionally integrate them back in?
Right? How is it possible? Of course, a lot of people end up back in prison because.
Well, I mean, in the scene where he was holding the knife to the guy from The Mist.
To Haywood?
Yeah, to Haywood. He's like, this is the only way they'll let me stay if I kill him. And that's some heavy shit, man. I mean.
And then he ends up hanging himself.
Yeah.
He's doesn't have any need for the outside world. And I thought it was really cool how they kind of tied the bow on that, because Red, at the end of the movie, ends up back in that room.
He finds the carving of his name.
Where he said Brooksy was here. And then right next to it, he writes Red was here. And for a moment, at least I was like, oh, is he going to hang himself?
Yeah.
And no. He chooses life. He chooses a more hopeful option.
Yeah.
Which was freaking beautiful. I don't know. Any other performances stand out? Actors? Oh. Fucking... What is his name? Also, one of these guys' name is Jigger. Do you know which one is Jigger?
I don't think I want to know.
Jigger, Skeet.
Oh, that's just tragic.
Jigger, Skeet, Floyd, and Boggs in Brooksy.
That's tragic.
Man, people were named weird shit in like the 30s.
I'm going to name my son Jigger.
And Snooze. I mean, I think these are supposed to be nicknames. I can't remember his name, but the rapist man.
Oh, he was the sisters, or his group was
the leader
sisters.
Of the sisters.
Yeah,
maybe another one of those examples.
Yeah, he was creepy. He was very like Silence of the Lambs type of character, where he was like,
back when our good guys were good guys and our bad guys were miserable rapist fuckers. Yeah. Like it's effective.
Those scenes made me feel nasty.
It's effective, and I think I did get very inappropriately. I laughed when Morgan Freeman's like. And so it was that Andy Dufresne got raped in the butt for 2 years. That's not what he said.
He just kind of throws it out there, though. Like, and you're just supposed to take that. Like, bro, like, what? That's fucked up.
That's just how it happens in 2 years. And hey, you know what? That's another fucked up real thing. It's really a prison thing that is just, like, accepted as part of the culture.
Yeah. And nobody talks about it. Nobody wants to talk about it.
Nobody wants to talk about fixing it.
And it's made into a joke, which is kind of like it's. I mean, I know we just laughed at that, but I mean, it's really is. It's sad.
I didn't laugh at the fact that he's getting raped for 2 years. I laughed at the fact that he yada 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 him getting raped for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was just so like abrupt. You're just like, what the fuck?
And I mean, that was the first, I think, big time jump in the movie.
Yeah.
So
it was like
I didn't realize that they were just gonna keep jumping ahead. So they're like, and we're just.
But think about for the main character, for Andy, and just like you really feel his pain and feel his plight during that. I mean, 2 years of that. Yeah. That was his, like Morgan Freeman was saying in the movie, that was his routine, day after day, day after day after day. But he still, like, for his character, he was still at the core, he had a good heart, and he still wanted to do good, and he still wanted to get the fuck out of there, too.
Right.
He didn't succumb to the darkness.
No, yeah, he didn't.
There's a lot of religious overtones in this film.
Well, there's a lot of, I would say, almost anti-religious overtones in the...
Really? Because I always saw Andy as the Christ-like character.
Well, I don't know if I can say that because it's very clear that the warden is a very devout Christian.
Yes.
And he is just the bottom of the barrel worst human ever.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not necessarily like a comment on Christianity necessarily as much as it is that Christianity,
I think it's like the oppressive state of religion.
Yeah, that religion can be used and twisted by people with bad intentions to justify whatever they want.
Right.
All right. Any other actors, moments? characters you want to shout
I
out?
mean, I think we can shout out the big moment in the film, which is the actual prison break. That whole scene, actually, I heard that. So, you know, the little pond or the little river, whatever thing that he comes out of,
Yeah.
and he's in. Apparently, during filming this, that they had some scientists like test the waters, because that's the thing in films, you don't really take into consideration like the health and safety of the actors. Like,
I mean, you should.
you should, but as the audience, we're watching the film and we don't really consider
Oh, yeah.
that.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
So I guess during the filmmaking of this and during the scene, they had to test the waters, and that the water was super toxic. And so what they did was like they made a dam, and then they filled it with like chlorine and shit, and they like basically sanitized it to make it somewhat tolerable for the actor to go into. It's really interesting. Yeah.
It's gross. I did also hear that Tim Robbins did get locked away in the solitary. I don't know how, they didn't say how long he did it,
Ooh,
but
method acting, huh?
he was going a little method on that.
Fuck that. That would be hell on earth. And in the movie, his character was in there for like
For
months.
2 months.
Yeah.
Just in an 8x8 cell in the dark. Yeah.
And again, this shit happens in real life.
Not
Cool, bro.
cool. Because we're gonna move on to It's an Art, Bro. As in, we're gonna talk about the filmmaking aspects that stand out in this movie.
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
Cinematographer Roger Deakins, probably one of the most accomplished cinematographers in the history of film. He's worked with the Coen brothers constantly. Newer stuff. He did Blade Runner 2049.
Yes.
Which is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. But it's interesting because he doesn't seem to have a specific style. He really does adapt it to whatever the film demands.
I think a lot of it is the lighting with him, if you notice, in a lot of his scenes. Like, especially, I mean, I don't want to talk about Blade Runner, but just the use of color and like, but in a dark setting, you know what I mean? Whereas in this movie, the setting is a dark and miserable prison, but then there's those like little cascades of light that come down and like illuminate the different characters and stuff.
And
it's really nice.
It's a movie that like literally, I think, brightens up when things are better. Like,
Yes.
like on this, there's a beautiful sunrise when they're drinking beers on the
Yes.
roof. When the big library's built and everything's are kind of humming and happy in the middle of the movie. The library's all bright and
Yeah, and then it really shows the dark and miserable. Like,
Yeah.
it really highlights that aspect too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He worked on Skyfall.
Skyfall. Yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
He's just super accomplished. He's done.
Sicario, True Grit.
Yeah.
True Grit's a great film.
Oh yeah.
Jarhead. Yeah,
Very
got a-
accomplished.
good filmography.
I don't know if I got fuck all. I guess and the soundtrack very 90s.
Yes. And we should note that the music was done by Thomas Newman.
Gonna say, did he do Toy Story 2?
He did Toy Story 2. He did Wall-E,
Really?
which was great. Wall-E does have some good music now that I think about it. We gotta watch that again. Maybe we can do a segment on
We gotta have
on
a
Wall-E.
Pixar movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Prime Pixar is fucking great.
Finding Nemo. Yeah, just overall, he's a great composer. The music, again, like you were saying, it has that Hallmark quality, but it's that.
It's lots of like wistful strings
Yes.
against sunshine and shit.
Yeah, and it's especially like the end scene. I mean, the scene is supposed to be uplifting and cheerful, and yeah, the music really reflects the different scenes. So it's great.
Impossible! You ought to be kidding me! Oh my God! Oh my God! That is the most amazing feat of strength I think I've ever seen! Look at this! Look at this! Holy this is incredible! Oh. The cover!
Next up is Off the Strength. What are our favorite things in the movie? I would say it's weird to call it the favorite thing because it's intensely depressing, but Brooksy as a character, I thought he was very fun. I love when Andy first gets into prison and he sits down with his lunch and he finds the maggot in the goop.
Yeah.
And then Brooksy's like, "You gonna eat that?" And you're like, "Wait, what the fuck?
Is he gonna actually eat it?" Like,
and then he has his little Raven Jack,
Yeah.
I think his name was, in his pocket.
I really love just the relationship of the actual inmates, especially the core group of friends. They're just very tight knit, and I mean, who wouldn't be when you're stuck in there with the same guys for years upon years? I think that's really highlighted very well, and it's pretty realistic too. Especially like so Red is like the guy who gets all the stuff in prison. He's like,
I'm a man who can acquire certain things.
Yes. I don't want to do my Morgan Freeman impression anymore.
Do it
'cause
again.
You just shit all over
Do
my
it
Morgan
again.
Freeman impression. Okay. Let me tell you a story. See, I can't do it when you're looking at me, motherfucker. Fuck you.
I'm looking away.
All right. Let me tell you. I can't do it. Let me tell you a story about a man who's got his booty taken. I probably can't say that.
His name was Andy Dufresne. All right. What were we talking about?
Favorite things.
Favorite things. You were talking about Red and...
Red and the fellow inmates.
Yeah, he's the man who can get things.
He can get this stuff.
Oh, speaking of that, he said he does a 20% upcharge. Red, you can do way better than that.
Come on, bro.
This is prison. You can do like a 200% upcharge.
I mean, it's
You'll
like
be fucking fine.
smuggling stuff in at the risk of your own safety. I mean,
I guess maybe you can read that as he's doing his friends a solid, but I read that as not a sound business decision from our guy Red. Red, do better. Like,
do better, guy.
Like Red, you're putting yourself at risk. 20%. That's like a fucking. That's like being a car salesman.
Work smart, not hard. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Look, if I was Red, I'm charging at least 50%.
Oh, everybody's getting taxed at the end. Fuck.
I'm taking all your cigarettes. I don't even smoke. Oh, that was another thing I noticed. Red never smokes.
Oh, interesting.
He's always selling smokes, dealing smokes,
I didn't
carrying
realize
smokes. Red never smokes.
Cool.
So he's just like, that's the currency here. Smokes.
It's pretty sick. I'm pretty sure that's still relevant to this day. Probably.
People still
I
smoke.
haven't been to prison, so
Oh, yeah.
I could be talking
Oh,
about my ass right now.
that smokes were, yeah, probably. It's probably like Bitcoin now.
Hey, man, I got this NFT right here.
Like Bored Ape Yacht Club, I heard that shit is tanking.
Oh, Jesus.
Any other favorites?
I love all the guards. They're all awful. In like a
I think Hadley's pretty awful, but I don't know if the rest of them are.
well, actually,
on
no,
board
I'm lying because remember in the scene where
where he plays the music.
he's playing the music. No. Or wait, is it the scene where he gets like the approved for the library, and the guard's like kind of cheering him on? He's like, "Yeah, man, you're great." And then Officer Hadley comes up. He's like, "No."
Yeah, because when they
do
release
that.
Brooksy, they're all shaking his hand and smiling him and
Yeah.
patting him on the
Yeah.
back and are like, "Good luck." So I don't think most of them. It's like it was a few bad apples have spoiled the bunch. For the most part, it seems like mostly Hadley and the shitty
So I
ones.
guess then you could say that maybe this movie is great because it's just a movie about the human plight.
Yeah.
It's just a movie about humanity, and it actually, especially men, because there's not a single female character in this.
Thank
entire
God.
Whoa,
I'm
chill
just
out.
kidding. I'm just fucking around. But no, it is only... I did read something that said there's only 29 lines said by women, and 8 of them are in the sex scene with her going, "Oh God, oh God, oh God."
Oh, no. Her performance was riveting.
I was riveted, for sure.
Okay.
Hole in one, know what I'm saying? Banging golfers.
Andy's going to show up to your career.
So this is a little off topic, but actually, let's move ahead. Did you have any more?
No, I'm good.
Do you have any more favorites? I think we're through the favorites. We've covered some of these. We're still working on doing these segments.
Good. Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
The final section is to let the hate flow through you. So it's like your annoyances and your complaints, the things you didn't like. This isn't really a complaint, But I'm just, do you buy the Tommy story in the middle of the movie that she basically clears Andy Dufresne's name? That he met a random guy that told him that he shot this golfer at the golf club and he was banging this woman who also had a husband. And
I almost would have preferred if it was Andy that did it.
That's what I'm saying. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier about, or at least just leave it vague. Like everybody here's innocent. I felt like that's kind of the point of the movie.
Right.
Everybody here's innocent. We don't need Andy Dufresne.
That was definitely like a studio decision for like a test audience or like something weird where it was like, oh, we got to explain this or people are going to be upset or that,
Maybe. I don't know if they did that as much in the 90s. I bet that's in the book. I bet Andy Dufresne is actually innocent in the book and they tell you about it.
I haven't read the book, so
I might be wrong, but I did see a couple things that they did specifically add in the movie, and that was not mentioned. One of them was the scene where he plays the opera music through the loudspeakers while the one guard is taking a shit.
Oh, okay.
That is an addition. That is not in the book.
But to answer your question, no, I didn't buy that scene.
Yeah, to me, it was like, this is a little convenient.
Yeah.
And it's... I just didn't need that, I guess, is ultimately. I liked it better being vague as to whether or not he did it.
And I think if it would have had more emotional like weight to it if it was that Andy did it, and where it's like you're conflicted as somebody who's viewing this and like, well, I'm on his side though.
Because I almost viewed the way he was acting so nice and so good was sort of like his penance and repentance for...
And that's the thing about prison. It's a reformatory.
Supposedly.
And that's kind of what I thought the idea of the movie was too, where it's like, well, these men are in here to reform, but you're not letting them reform.
Yeah. I don't know what reform means.
Do you need me to spell it out to you, son?
No, that's what Red says.
Oh, he does say that
at the end.
I just watched this. My memory is so shit right now.
At his final meeting for parole release, he says, "I don't know what reform means. I think it's just a word that you guys say so a man in a suit can tell me no, basically."
You have a great memory.
I don't give a shit, actually. It's his last line.
And that's like, again, it's that social commentary on real life, because I mean, essentially those men are in there to reform and to again.
But the process is antithetical to actually. That's another $5 word. $10
on the ball today.
But that process is not. Sorry, I cut you off. That process is not. The putting people behind bars for decades and decades is actually antithetical to reformation.
Yes.
Getting beat to shit by guards and abused and raped is antithetical to actually being reformed. And
and that's why like Andy's character is so important. That's why, again, like you see, and going back to the religious overtones of this film, where it's like Andy is the Christ-like character. He's trying to bring in hope for these men who are stuck in darkness, and they're he's like, okay, I want to build a library in here. I want these men to actually learn something and to better themselves in life. And again, that goes back towards like them trying to seek redemption. Hence the title of the film.
And then eventually, he gets sick of it, though.
Yeah.
Eventually, he gets beaten down. His cushy situation that he's kind of arranged for. I mean, everyone else, I think, is privy to that stuff, but he got on the warden's bad side by trying to clear his name and get released. So at the end, he says it's time to either get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah. And so he makes the ultimate decision for himself, where it's like, I'm getting the F out of H.
And he busts out of here into the tiny tunnel he carved with the tiny axe that he got from the beginning. And they're like, are you going to try to escape? And he was like, nah, I just want to carve some rocks. And I was like, bullshit.
Check under the poster.
I guess also maybe why he was so quiet throughout the movie is because it seems like he never fucking slept, because apparently all the time we didn't see him being active, he was in his room carving a tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah. And how long was he in there? 5 years?
No, it was decades. Yeah, I want to say he was in there for like 20 plus years.
Damn. So yeah, it took him a long time.
Yeah. Any other complaints, annoyances?
I would say again, some of the dialogue every once in a while gets a little wonky. I mean, I guess it's just that older movie kind of thing. Where especially with some of the side characters,
the posse when they chirp in,
yeah,
some of the stuff is a little like cliche and hammy.
It's a little hammy, and it's a little like, ooh, that's kind of offensive, you know.
What'd you just say?
Where it's like the big bad gays and stuff, you know. It's kind of like a
yeah. I would say some of those characters, which they're fine, but they're a little one note.
Yes,
I guess it's the movie is ultimately about these two guys.
It's in service to the story, and it's fine.
And that's well done and well written, so you can excuse it. But even the guy with the most lines, Haywood, I never really got that much of a sense of his character. He just kind of seemed like he's one of the boys. Like he didn't have.
But he was kind of a dumbass too.
He was. Yeah. All right. We've aired our grievances.
Yes, and there wasn't many, so it's a good sign.
So now we get down to it. We answer the question. Is this a perfect movie? Is this going on the list?
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way.
I had a baby brother. I had a little baby brother. And he was perfect. Perfect in every way.
This is kind of a hard one because personally, I really enjoy this film. I wouldn't say, I mean, I do. I guess I don't know. Love is just such a strong word.
Where I come down on it is when I looked at the Oscars in 1995 and I saw Pulp Fiction and I saw Forrest Gump on it. I said, that's two movies from this year that I would take over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it's our list, I mean, it's already got number one on IMDb top 250. We can't take that away from him.
Yeah.
And the way I come down on it, like I said earlier, it's in the Hall of Very Good, in my opinion. Didn't come down to the Hall of Excellent.
Yes.
And some of that's just, I think, my personal preferences on the types of stories I enjoy. But
I think
list.
I think what I love about this film, personally, and it doesn't mean that I think this is a perfect film by any means, but there are aspects of this film that I do love, including like the cinematography is great. The performances are great. The feeling of the movie, it's
got that warm blanket feel.
Yeah, and it's like, again, like you're sitting down in front of a fireplace reading a book. Like, it's got that good quality to it. I was going to say, though, like you either love or hate this type of cinema. It's not the action-packed explosion. Like, I could see people going to see this and thinking, oh, I'm going to watch Alcatraz or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to go watch this big prison escape film where the entire movie is like, oh, we're going to try to break out of here. But it's not about that. It's about the characters. It's about the emotional stakes and the stuff that they go through inside the prison and what that effect has on their character.
I kind of expecting that, knowing that I'd seen the very beginning and the very end. I thought at some point in the movie it would shift into like, all right, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And they're, getting their plan together and they're picking at the wall and somebody's watching.
And then they would escape and then they're getting hunted for a while.
Yeah.
That whole
I kind of expected some of that to happen and none of that ever happened.
Yeah. So I can see how people wouldn't. And I can see why this didn't fare as well in the box office too. It's not, I mean, again, like what you're saying, this up against Pulp Fiction, there's no way.
Yeah. I'm shutting this movie off and I'm watching Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Yeah. And Pulp Fiction is that blockbuster, it's snappy, it's got the best of everything.
It's quippy, it's
got action, it's got
over the top.
Yeah,
this is very subdued and very introspective.
It's very somber, but I think this movie works well under the right circumstance. If you're willing to sit down one night and you're just like, you know what, I just want to watch something that I can think about.
By the fireplace vibe.
Yeah,
it is very just like a calm.
Yes.
I'm hanging out, warm blanket, cup of cocoa, and I'm, you just kind of, it's a cozy movie. It's like a comfort movie. I can understand why a lot of people, this is their favorite movie.
And a lot of people don't want to watch movies to be, number one, preached at, but this movie obviously is not preaching at you. But the normal audience would see it that way. Where it's like they'd go in watching this, and maybe not so much back then, but at least now, if this movie came out this movie would bomb.
This movie would have no, in the mega blockbuster. It's a world of either. It's just a movie that doesn't get made anymore. Like a mid-budget movie.
Yes.
It's either you have your micro-budget indies or your big blockbusters, and this sort of in-between stuff has fallen away.
I mean, Robert Eggers just tried to do it with The Northman, and that's like an action-packed movie.
Yeah, but it didn't have an IP attached to it that everybody already knows about.
So I think from that point of view, like going back and watching this, it takes you back to a simpler time in films, or like in movies in general, where this is something that I can watch and not feel miserable about after.
Right.
Even though it's got some dark content within, and some.
It ends on the light note. It ends with Red and Andy reuniting in Mexico and just being best friends.
Andy's building a boat, and he's about to live the rest of his life on an island. Like that's
pretty cool.
Something we all want. Yeah, essentially, and so the audience can relate to that and feel good about it.
But is it on the perfect movie list? I think honestly, my vote, and this is just below the bar of my enjoyment. I think to be on our perfect movie list.
Okay.
I think, like I said, there's 2 movies from this year that I think might make that list if we ever do I think Pulp Fiction's a no question, and Forrest Gump I can maybe be swayed one way or the other.
Yeah, we'll get into it
but
eventually.
This one, Hall of Very Good. Unless you feel strongly to the opposite.
I also agree. I don't think this is hard.
As our list.
As our list, no, I don't think this is a perfect movie.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And it does what it
accomplishes what it set out to do, for sure.
So, yeah.
I would say, if somebody asked me, should I watch this? I would say yes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is still a fantastic film.
Yeah.
Regardless of what we say.
Perfect is a high bar.
Yes. But this is the Perfect Movie Podcast.
And we answered the question. Is Shawshank Redemption a perfect movie? Not today.
Not today.
Not today. But you still got number 1 on IMDb Top 50. You're the king. The people have voted.
The people have voted.
People have spoken. Fuck us. What do we know?
Well, not fuck us, but
I mean, depends who you are. All right. I think we're done.
What I wanted to say, though, thanks for everybody who tuned into the first episode of...
Yeah, we appreciate it a lot. We appreciate... follow us at the Perfect Movie Pod on Facebook.
On Facebook. We have a Twitter.
The PERF Movie Pod. The Perf Movie Pod.
I'll post all the links to that. We're also working on getting something for Spotify and Apple Music.
Yeah. I think this new episode will be on SoundCloud and YouTube. I will link our social media under those. And yeah, look forward to Spotify and Apple Music very soon. I don't really know how fast it's going to happen, but I'm going to be applying for it tonight. So hopefully we'll be on there. We'll be right there. Very convenient for all you. You don't got to go on a different app.
Yeah, you don't got to do all that extra
You don't got to go to SoundCloud. Who uses SoundCloud anymore? You don't got to go to YouTube. What? Now I can't lock my phone. Now I can't do shit. We'll
make it convenient for you guys.
In your ears. And next week, can I say it?
Yeah.
Next episode should be Stranger Things.
Yeah, we're doing a special episode on the season 4 finale of Stranger Things.
We're already breaking the format. This is not
breaking new ground, guys.
It broke new ground. Yeah,
that should be a fun one.
Nobody's gonna get that joke. That was just for us.
Yeah.
All right.
Shout out Red Letter Media.
Yeah.
But that should be a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see you guys then.
We will see you next week.